Thanks for tuning in. You're watching The Big Story with me, Tanvi Shukla. And before we go to the big story, here are the headlines. Violence breaks out at Banaras Hindu University after the arrest of a student leader on charges of obstructing an IIT BHU program. Teenager accused of killing 7-year-old Ryan school student will now be tried as an adult. Will be produced in the Gurugram Sessions Court on 22nd December. Went to crimes against Betis. Minor allegedly gang raped and murdered in Karnataka's Vijaypura. One accused arrested, 4 others on the run. Citizen groups from Bengaluru approached Karnataka Home Minister seeking speedy investigation into the Anekal gang rape case, where no arrests have been made even 3 weeks after the incident. Former TV host and producer Zoeb Ilyasi sentenced to life imprisonment by a Delhi court for murdering his wife. Body of another missing soldier recovered from Jammu and Kashmir's Gurez sector. 1 soldier still missing. Setback for Tarun Tejpal as the Bombay High Court quashes his plea challenging the trial in the rape case. The food at your table could be unsafe. CAG makes shocking revelations in its report. Health Ministry pulled up for failing to regulate. On to the big story this hour. What if we tell you that the packaged food that you are buying from your local neighborhood store or a mall or any other place may be unsafe for you? Yes, you've heard it right. A report by the Comptroller and Auditor General has made some shocking revelations. Food Safety and Standards Authority has been accused of not regulating licenses of food manufacturers who sell these products, which means that what you are eating may not be safe. This report has raised questions over the seriousness regarding health safety in our country.
The food we eat, whether it's packaged or not, it seems like it's not safe for consumption. The Comptroller and Auditor General has slammed the Food and Safety Standards Authority of India on many accounts there for failing to justify why certain food manufacturers have been given licenses with 50% documentation only. The FSSAI mentioned that there are about 16 documents that are taken, but in 50% of these cases, as said by CAG report, the documentation is incomplete. In fact, the labs where the samples of food are tested are also not accredited under NABL. That means that the labs where the food you and I are eating are not certified and cannot be adjudicated to judge whether a food item is safe for consumption or not. What does this mean for the consumers? And can the government make sure that the food you and I are eating is safe? In New Delhi, this is Milan Sharma for Mirror Now.
Several issues raised by CAG are procedural in nature, and we have benefited from the report of the CAG and taken corrective actions on them. And having said this, a lot of work is still required to be done to ensure safe and nutritious food for our citizens. There is a big area of concern as far as states are concerned, because several states are not giving adequate importance to food safety issues as they should be. Some states are doing very well, and much of work relating to compliance happens at the state level, and that is an area where we need to be working hard and working more effectively with the state governments. One single challenge is, inadequacy of manpower and capacity at the state level, because we can only be as effective as our field machinery, and our field machinery is the states. So whereas in some states things are happening very well, in some states a lot needs to be done. So that is the most important challenge that we face.
In fact, let me take you to some of those excerpts of that report that we have actually culled out. They're also playing out on your screens. We've highlighted 10 of them. Number 7 says no steps to ensure unsafe foods don't enter the country. Number 8, 65 of the 72 labs are not accredited. So there is no verification of these labs that has actually been done. Deficient testing due to shortage of manpower, due to shortage of equipment. So Sriram Khanna, consumer activist, is back with us on the phone line. We often see reports, Sriram, that speak of 1 or 2 brand products being under the scanner because they failed the test. But it looks like the government has forgotten to test the authority itself that seems to be failing in doing its job.
See, what you are saying is correct. The standard of protection to consumers from unsafe products has been slowly going down over the years. And you will recall that about 10 years ago, in the National Capital Territory, nearly 50 people had died because of poisoning due to contamination of mustard oil by argemone seeds. Not a single person could be punished because the system was not effective, where they could prove that there had been adulteration, but the enforcement was not very good. And after that, the manufacturers lobby in the food manufacturers persuaded the government to go soft on them. As a result of which this Food Safety and Standards Act was passed, I think, in 2006 or 2007. And let me tell you, Faye, this law is very soft on adulterators. It does not send those who are selling adulterated food into jail. It merely slaps a fine on them and sends them back to selling the same stuff again and again and again. There is no deterrent at all. You can sell adulterated substandard stuff and get away with it in India today. This is the story of the law, and this inadequacy is in the law itself, which UPA had made. But surprisingly, the NDA did nothing to change it. Because it doesn't seem to be a priority for the Union Health Ministry that public health should be protected by strong law and better implementation. And I'm sorry to say, the standard of protection has gone down, and only a major incident where lives will be lost will wake up this government. Otherwise, it is not going to happen on its own. This is what I feel.
So help us also understand, Mr. Khanna, how often are these tests, these audits supposed to be done, and what is really the reality in our country, considering that we don't have the equipment or even the manpower to do it?
Under this law, there are food safety commissioners in every state, which means the person who is the senior most government officer has been designated as the food safety commissioner, and under him are food safety officers in every district. All the food inspectors under the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act have been redesignated as food safety officers. Their job is to go into the market and to the warehouse, collect samples and have them tested. Routinely, they are supposed to get it done. And there are labs in almost every state. When the samples are collected, earlier there was a scare, there used to be a situation when the inspectors came to a market, the entire market shopkeepers would pull their shutters down, lock their shops and go away because they were scared that minimum punishment was 6 months jail if something was found that was substandard. Today, we are very happy. They will welcome the inspectors. You come and take the sample. They know if something comes out which is against them and some is adulterated or substandard, they'll pay a few thousand rupees fine and get away with it. They are not going to be sent to jail. So this is how products are tested. Only when a food safety officer takes a sample or a consumer takes a sample and gives it to a lab and pays the fees. Which consumer is going to spend lakhs of rupees in getting products tested? Nobody is going to do that. It's the job of the government and they are not doing it properly, and there are a number of reasons. So testing of samples is the job of food safety officers, and there are plenty in every district of India. There are more than 600 districts. Each district will have at least a few food safety officers. So I am saying that you have a whole army of food safety officers all over India, but they are not able to protect consumers.
So what should the consumer do? What can
sorry,
an
I am
average
sorry.
consumer who's been putting their faith in the government and buying these products off the shelf
We can
do?
do something, but it is so time consuming and expensive and full of conflict that, you, for example, if I feel aggrieved and I say this is adulterated, I'll take some sample, go to the lab and get a report, and file a complaint against that company. The company will defend itself. Some fine will be levied and they will be let off. Supposing I go to a criminal court, it will take at least 5 years before the trial court decides. Then if I am successful, the company with all its resources will file an appeal in the High Court. Another 7 years will take, it will take, 12 years are gone. Supposing I win in the High Court, then they will file an appeal in the Supreme Court, another 5 years will go. So it's a battle of nearly 15 to 20 years to fight companies. Individuals cannot fight the companies because these people have resources. There is their bread and butter and they are making profit out of the business. They have more than adequate resources to defend themselves against an individual. However, if a government authority, like what was done by the Food Safety and Standards Authority in the case of Maggi, if they take determined action, it will make a difference. But they have to make sure all their laws, all their procedures, and all their equipment and labs are properly, legally tenable.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for speaking to us and sharing all that information for our viewers as well who need to know what the reality is. In fact, I have also got Mr. Shiva Rudraswamy, and I am given to understand he's a retired officer. He was with the Food Safety Department. Mr. Shiva Rudraswamy, thank you for speaking to Mirror Now. Is this a problem across the country? The CAG report seems to suggest that about 60 of the 72 labs are not accredited, that they went and audited 16 labs where 15 of them didn't have qualified staff or even equipment.
Exactly true. What you are saying, madam, is true. Pertaining to the Bangalore City Corporation, that is Brihat Bangalore Mahanagarapalika, I know certain things and certain issues and certain what are the things comprising to the BBMP. I know that only the limitation to the BBMP area, I already retired from the department. There, what actually it is, there is a laboratory, state government laboratory, and a laboratory from the Bangalore Mahanagarapalika, and it was not actually coincided with the NABL or accreditation. The staffs and the members or those who are taking the samples and analyzing are not up to the mark. There is concern, and Dr. Harshal, Joint Commissioner for Food Safety and Standard, is the executive authority, one of the also there in Bangalore for regarding the food safety and standard. They are directly the whole of Karnataka, and particularly to the Bangalore Mahanagarapalika. There are doctors and executive officers are there. So they are giving about nearly 7 to 8 or nearly 12 members are working under the food safety and standard FSOs and designated officers, and their actual duties and responsibilities should be carefully watched and frequently periodical checks has to be made, and that information should be passed on to the public also at least once in a month or once in 15 days like that. Then the happenings will be cut down and the deterioration of the work also be point to be noted there.
Okay, Mr. Shiva Rudraswamy, the other thing I want to understand from you, since your experience in this segment itself, how badly understaffed are we, given the fact that now there are so many products in the market which are accessible to people, so much more monitoring and checking and testing must be done. But do we have those many people?
Yeah, exactly, madam. What we are comparing to the other media, one, we should give a strong message and a strong awareness to the public. Every day, either in the morning or in the evening, to the rural areas or where the food products are selling, we should give a strong message, and the public awareness camp has to be made, and the stringent law has to be noticed to them. Unless otherwise, their enforcement of strict laws and their punishment and the way of they are doing their job should be followed, and monetarily it should be. Actually, what I can say is the executive officials should be given a responsibility of giving a strong awareness camps.
Yes.
Awareness camps. Unless otherwise awareness camps, public will not know. When they feel hungry, when they get some low-cost food and some, they will eat and they will pass on the days.
Yes, absolutely, you're right there. In fact, even this CAG report suggests that the fact is that the funds that get collected from penalties and elsewhere have to be used majoritarily for creating awareness, for educating the customers as well, but none of that is actually done in any part of our country, and which is really, really shocking and disappointing. Thank you for speaking to us, sir, and actually picking up the phone and sharing your experiences and giving shedding some more light on what the reality is. Let's go across to one of our viewers now. Sudhir Pandey is calling us from Mumbai. Good evening, Sudhir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening. What I would like to say, this substandard of food and adulteration in this the adulteration, the food items, because this is a laxity in part of the authorities and government. They don't take it seriously, because had they been serious, till now no exemplary punishment has been given to any of the shop or any of the organization. Had it been like very strict punishment with like naming and shaming, it would have brought into check. Had they been really serious, they could have their own detectives, own informers. So it's not very difficult when audit report can come, why they can't find out of their own with some their sources. And secondly, this you can see vegetable. India actually food is always not given a priority. We never have any vegetable mandis or vegetable proper shops. They are sold in a open dirty areas like along the roadsides. So food is not an important thing for us So
yes, and Mr. Pandey, from the oil that we are using to cook our homemade food in, to the time we don't want to cook and we end up eating, any of the instant noodles or ready to eat, if none of that is actually going through proper testing, then it's a very big concern, because the consumption amount is so high. You consume it, I do every day. We can walk into a supermarket and pick up any of these products, trusting our government to the extent that they must have done the proper checks. Thank you for speaking to us and calling us. I believe we've got Anup Divani who's calling us from Delhi. Good evening, Anup.
Yeah, ma'am. So my point is that there are so many food products across, during the festival season, which are imported from outside. They have no label, no nothing, and it's only the import date which is there. And in all probability, these are something which are junked outside, but they get away through customs, they get away through every check, and they are sold openly during Diwali, Christmas, etc. And I was very surprised to also see that the FSSAI CEO saying that, okay, yeah, there are some shortcomings and we need to put them. Why is he not being, penalized or, thrown out and put into jail for putting everybody to risk? And this is, ridiculous, seeing that, in every product you see FSSAI, now, we know that we can't have trust on it. And what is the credibility India will have, outside, when we were telling everyone that like FDA, we have an FSSAI now, which has, stringent norms and standards for food safety.
Yes, absolutely, and absolutely correct. And what is it that we are providing to our next generation, from unhealthy air to unsafe food? Is that what it has come down to? Anup Divani, thank you for speaking to us and watching this story. We wanted to bring it to our viewers because it matters to every single citizen, and which is why the government needs to take note and crack down immediately as per what the CAG report findings are. They also, by the way, do expose the point that there is absolutely no check in the food that is coming from outside of the country, like Anup Divani was also pointing out. Let's take a short break. We'll come back with more. Welcome back. 2 students of a reputed school in Kerala's Thiruvananthapuram were expelled on grounds of expressing public display of affection. While the students say it was a congratulatory hug to each other as friends that lasted for a few seconds, the school authorities remain adamant, saying that the hug went on for too long, that such actions are against the school's disciplinary rules. With the class 12th exams now around the corner, the boy's future hangs in balance. We're given to understand both the boy and the girl haven't been able to attend school for several months now.
Girl child asked me how she performed, did she perform good, will she win a prize, and we were all in an impulsive mood, right? It's a arts festival. So in that impulsive mood, I just gave her a hug which lasted for 3 or 5 seconds and told her that it was good. She performed really good. She might even win a prize, and she was happy about it. But when this happened, this was just a friendly hug. Like, it was a friendly hug with a mutual consent. She didn't have any objections or she didn't have any complaint against it. This was a friendly hug. And while I was hugging her, a teacher, that is administrative staff, walked past by and saw this incident, and she didn't demand any explanations, but she started shouting at us. And she took us to the vice principal's room. In the vice principal's room, when the vice principal came, she asked me for an explanation, and I gave an explanation. Ma'am, this was just a mutual hug. This was a friendly hug. She asked me how she performed, and I hugged her, and that was it. But she was pretty convinced by then. The vice principal was pretty convinced, and she's like, even though you hugged, I understand, but this is not the place for doing that. I understand that it was an impulsive action, but it is against the school rules.
Vivek actually is joining us for more on this phone line. Vivek, there's been quite a bit of outrage and massive controversy over this entire development. The parents did go to the court, but the court ruled in the favor of the school. The Child Rights Commission has been dragged in. What is the latest now, though?
Yes, the latest update on this issue is that now that the school has now been on the back foot exactly after this media intervention for the last few days. Now that the school authorities has called for an emergency meeting on the 3rd of January, where they have asked the parents and also a few members, a few authorities in the school, and also the principal and the secretary will be present, and they have also issued a letter to them saying that we should have a compromise talk on this, and we should settle this issue once for all. I spoke to the father of this boy. So even what the boy's father says is that yes, they are ready to settle this issue once for all, but they want their children also to be present in that compromise meeting. Basically, they want to, because it's a matter of his future. Because the 12th standard boy's examination, his board examination, is tipped to be on, it's going to be from the month of March onwards. And that is something which is a matter of grave concern because he has already lost around 5 months of classes starting from July 25th onwards. So yes, this is a matter of concern, and it's very, unfortunate that this issue, which should have been actually sorted out, in a principal's chamber by the parents, by the student, and the principal. This was taken out to the court or an intervention by the Child Rights Commission, and then now taken out to the media. So now what the school has clearly understood. What has gone wrong, and they are right now, in a mood to reconciliation, and they're trying to settle this matter. And we need to wait and see whether the parents, are willing to come forward and settle this issue.
Well, maybe they should do that because at the end of the day, these children are set to graduate next year. It's a very crucial year in school with big exams coming up, and ideally the students should be putting in all of this time now, focusing on studies. So let's wait and watch what finally comes out of that meeting, Vivek. We'll keep coming back to you for more updates. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Big Story. Lots more news on the other side. Stay tuned.